Tensions rise in NATO. Russian and F-16 fighter jets have a tense encounter in the Black Sea. Recently, over the Black Sea, Russian fighter jets were dispatched to intercept 8 F-16s in flight. These Russian fighter jets were escorting an unidentified aircraft. The incident took place approximately 60 miles off the Turkish coast, in waters considered neutral. The objective and nature of the Russian aircraft being escorted remain unclear. As the Russian fighters approached, the Western jets reportedly turned and quickly headed towards Turkey. It was previously reported that for the first time since the start of the special military operation, Russian armed forces used a drone known as Dragon. This situation highlights how the United States aims to avoid conflict when encountering Russian fighters, seeking to prevent any incident, especially being only 60 miles from the Turkish coast. The presence of 2 Russian fighters against 8 F-16s is intriguing, considering the F-16 is an excellent fighter jet. This is not the first time such encounters have been reported. Recently, a video surfaced showing an F-16 performing deterrent maneuvers against a Russian bomber. Meanwhile, according to the Deputy Commander of the Estonian Defence Forces Intelligence Centre, Ukrainian armed forces are expected to withdraw from the city of Krasnoparovka by the end of this year due to the advance of Russian troops, who are now only 3 to 4 miles away. This city is logistically crucial for supplying ammunition and resources to Ukrainian troops. This announcement from Estonia comes after previous statements from its military leadership about attacking Russia with NATO support, which sparked criticism and irony regarding Estonia's lack of preparedness for a potential conflict. Additionally, Russian forces reportedly destroyed a concentration of NATO mercenaries near Kherson. A video also documented the attack of 2 Russian armoured vehicles on a Ukrainian convoy in the Kursk region. In this context, the Russian army claims to have shot down numerous Ukrainian drones and taken control of the main roads in the Kurdyumivka region of Donetsk. Ukrainian casualties in this offensive have surpassed 20,000, indicating the gravity of the situation on the front lines. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces are facing constant forced recruitment, even of those who are sick or unfit for military service, due to the pressure to maintain adequate troop numbers on the battlefield. It is estimated that in the last week alone, Ukrainian casualties have reached over 16,000, reflecting the severity of the mobilization and ongoing fighting. Amidst all of this, it is being said that European NATO countries, according to Stoltenberg, have a lower military potential than Russia, which is causing concern. Although measures have been taken to support Ukraine, he emphasizes that the West should have started supplying military aid long before the start of Russia's special operation. Meanwhile, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson suggested that had Donald Trump remained President of the United States, the situation in Ukraine might have been different and that Russia's military operation could have been avoided. Johnson argues that Trump understood the implications of Ukraine's defeat and that his approach would have led to a lesser escalation of tensions in the region. In summary, the situation in the Black Sea, the advance of Russian forces in Ukraine, and the complexity of the geopolitical context reflect a growing tension that involves several nations and alliances with significant implications for regional and international security. The recent confrontation between Russian fighters and 8 F-16s in the Black Sea has heightened tensions in the region and has highlighted the complexity of the current geopolitical situation. The details of the incident, in which Russian fighter jets escorted an unidentified Russian aircraft, while F-16 fighters headed towards Turkey, underscore the constant vigilance of air forces in an area where interaction between different nations has become common and dangerous. This escalation of aerial tension reflects a new phase in relations between Russia and NATO, where both sides are increasingly willing to display their military strength. These types of incidents not only fuel fears of a potential conflict, but also reveal the strategy of both sides. NATO, particularly the United States, has been cautious in its approach to Russian forces, partly due to the recent memory of past clashes and the potentially catastrophic consequences of a direct conflict. The operations of the F-16s, which have become a symbol of Western air defence, illustrate NATO's intention to maintain an active presence in the region and deter any Russian aggression. However, the fact that these fighters withdrew upon the approach of Russian aircraft also suggests a clear unwillingness to risk a direct confrontation. Furthermore, the situation in Ukraine remains a critical focus of attention. The recent claim that the Ukrainian armed forces will be forced to abandon the city of Pokrovsk by the end of the year highlights the pressure the Ukrainian army faces against Russian offensives. The strategic position of this city, which acts as a key logistical point, increases the urgency of its defense. The statement from the Deputy Commander of Estonian Intelligence is particularly concerning, as it indicates a pessimistic assessment of the situation on the battlefield, suggesting that the Russian army is gaining ground at an alarming rate. As the war drags on, the human cost continues to mount. Estimates of Ukrainian casualties have reached alarming figures, raising serious doubts about the sustainability of Ukraine's current military strategy. The mobilization of more troops at a time when forces are already under extreme pressure poses an ethical and strategic dilemma about Ukraine's ability to continue sustaining its defense. The comments from senior intelligence officials, who are calling for a reassessment of tactics and a possible review of NATO aid, reflect a growing unease about the future of Ukraine and the role international alliances will play. Meanwhile, NATO faces its own challenges. Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg's admission of the military inferiority of European countries compared to Russia raises questions about the effectiveness of the alliance's response to Russian aggression. The insistence on increasing military spending and supplying arms to Ukraine indicates an intention to strengthen its stance, but the question remains whether this will be enough to counter Russia's strategy. The acknowledgement that the West has been lagging in its support for Ukraine also implies an urgent need to re-evaluate tactics, both on the battlefield and in diplomacy. As the conflict progresses, the sentiment among the troops and civilians in Ukraine is becoming more complicated. The need for more soldiers, even among those who are not trained or are too sick to fight, suggests a desperation on the part of the Ukrainian authorities to keep fighting. This has led to forced mobilization, which has generated discontent among the population and has contributed to an atmosphere of fear and despair.